riverbank, taking advantage of all the activity down here, taking advantage of the fact that there would be all this action and all this recreational life down here. They actually built a dog park into those, right about where those people are walking down. There's a dog park buried right in there. So there's all these social areas, there's little alcoves and sitting areas. They did a very nice job of landscaping this and bringing a certain kind of activity without a restaurant down to the lakefront. The undulating grass shows us they were paying tribute to the river and to the lake. And another thing I love about this building is where the height narrows as it goes up, those height breaks are not arbitrary heights. What they did, what was very subtle but very clever, was those heights are matching the heights of architecturally significant buildings beside it. So one of them is the height of the Wrigley building when you got on the boat. Very important building to Chicago. Another one of the heights matches the American Medical Association building, which is the black building right there on the right-hand side of the boat. We're going to go past it in a minute. That is where the American Medical Association is, with the Langham Hotel on the lower floors. It was designed by one of the most influential architects of the 1900s, a man named Ludwig Mies van der Rohe. Mies van der Rohe came here from Germany in the 1930s, and he had been one of the founders of a school that's called the Bauhaus School. They believed in a certain kind of minimalism, and they believed in letting the form of an object or a building follow the function of the building. They didn't think you needed extraneous ornament to make a building more interesting. So these buildings are deceptively simple. It is called the International Style of Architecture, that style. And you will see these in downtown areas all over the world. Now, Mies van der Rohe was also a teacher, and one of his students was a guy named Bertram Goldberg. And Bertram Goldberg looked up and said, I don't see straight lines in nature. I absolutely don't understand why you're building all your buildings with straight lines. He designed the very iconic towers we're about to see next. On the right, Marina City or Marina Towers, which are very fondly called the corn cobs here. Now it's interesting, my story is unique because at my age, not many people when I was a kid lived downtown. People lived in the suburbs. That was considered the ideal life. The city wanted to change that, so they hired an architect named Bertram Goldberg and said, let's try something experimental. Let's build a building that nobody has to leave until they go to work in the morning. So Marina City was an experiment of mixed use. They put boats in the bottom. You could have your boat and have a marina. Park your car in the parking lots. There's a dry cleaner, a grocery store, restaurants. There was a bowling alley in there. There was an ice skating rink in the winter and a movie theater. Everything in the world was in there. And it worked. Now there's lots and lots of residential life down here. But it was an experimental style of living in 1964 when Marina City was completed. By the way, those apartments are pie-shaped. So you see how the building is round like a flower, kind of? When you walk in the door of those apartments, it's narrow. And it gets wider as it gets toward the windows. They're very odd. Like a studio's a piece of pie. One bedroom's like 2 pieces of pie, whatever. Anyway, it's a very cool building. Okay, on the right-hand side is the American Bar Association, excuse me. We have the doctors down there, and now we have the lawyers up here. I love this, we kind of keep them separated by a couple buildings. But these terraces were only added 2 years ago, and look how busy they are. Not only is it fun, not only is it active down here, not only does everybody want to participate down here, there's a lot of money to be made down here, so people want terraces on their buildings. This building is no different. If you had been down the river in the early 1900s, you would, everything is a beauty queen. You would see buildings like this lining the riverbanks. This was a warehouse for the Monarch Food Company. It is from 1914, and it's designed by a man named George Nimmons. You can see it has a clock tower at the top. One of the reasons is that people didn't have watches then, or if you did, it was a luxury, so they put the time on the buildings. I was terrified of this place when I was a kid, and like when I was about 16 and 17, I was terrified of it, but I had to go in there all the time. And the reason was it was traffic court for many, many years. Now it's actually